Hey, my name's Izzy, coming at you live from Rolling Virtual Cards with another Magic the Gathering video after a 3-month hiatus. I disappeared for 3 months last time I checked. Last video I saw I uploaded was Atraxa Gyurta, my 8th Atraxa. I was going to do a month of Atraxa and I got through 8. That was the 21st of February. I uploaded 3 videos, mind you, but here's my cat again. I'm not going to spend too much time going over exactly what happened. Suffice it to say, when it's not your living and you just kind of want to do it as a hobby right for now, you can't really choose it over other things sometimes. And with how busy work has been and busy my marriage has been and how busy house hunting has and trying to start HRT and all the fun things, it's just really taken a back seat. I'm hoping to get back on the saddle here and get back into making deck builds. I've got a brand new series that I'm hoping to upload. That'll be cool. I really like it. I think it's an interesting idea. Wish I had more time to do more effort into do it and make it more cinematic, but I just don't. But you'll see that hopefully later. I have some of those videos recorded already ahead of time. Hopefully I can upload them here, make a nice post and stuff. But for now, before Modern Horizons gets onto us and Modern Horizons 3 hits us and gets into the spoiler season for that, I thought I'd quickly go over the Outlaws at Junction and a few videos like I usually do. I did do Fallout when it came out, so did I do Fallout or did I miss Fallout? I might have missed Fallout. I did. I never did videos on the Fallout set because I've been gone. Quick thoughts on the Fallout set. I loved it. I love Fallout myself. I thought the commander decks are great. I think the product was great. There was a lot of fun cards in there, a lot of good themes that you can play, new mechanics that just kind of work and just intertwine very easily without a lot of effort or knowledge or necessary like items that you need to bring along to play the game. Just the things you would normally have and nothing you're asking of your opponent to do. So I liked all of it. Definitely suggest buying the product if you can find it for a good price. Good price being relative to whatever you guys think. Maybe I'll make a quick video at some point on the whole thing, or maybe I'll do a live stream and just talk about it. We'll figure out, but let's get into the card by card here. We're just going to go over this, mainly focusing on Commander like normal, but I'll hit up other formats if I think they're necessary. We're just going to start with the base Thunder Junction, and let's get over the white cards, which will be this first video here. If anyone has any other questions about what's been going on in my life, you can drop them down below in the comment section, down in the doobly-doo. Otherwise, let's get into this. Another round is 2x and a white, or 2x, 2 generic, and a white for sorcery. With exile any number of creatures you control, then return them to the battlefield under their owner's control. Then repeat this process X more times. This is going to see play in any commander deck that is ETB based. Repeating this process is insane. This is a blowout. This can really, like any deck that wins off of it. You got impact trimmers. Well, cast this card for X is 5 and exile 5 creatures. That would require 10, 11, 12, 13 mana here. If you could pay 13 mana and you have like an impact trimmers in here and you exile 5 creatures, they're going to enter 5 times. 5 creatures entering 5 times, dealing 1 damage to each opponent. So that's 25 damage there. That could probably win you the game there. But this is a big finishing card. You cast it, if it goes off, you're going to probably win. Because you're not going to do this once. Oh, actually, I guess if X is 5, it's X more times. So you can cast this where X is 0. So just for 3, exile any number of creatures and then return to the battlefield. Or it can be a blowout at the end. I love that. Thunder Junction really pushed that notion of like module effects. So this can either be like a quick exile your 3 creatures, get them back in with Soul Attendant on the field, gain like 3 life, and then be done. Or like a big blowout where you get like 50 life all of a sudden, and they're just like, we can't catch up. So this card, great. In any ETB deck, I would shove this right in there. This is going to probably be... You're probably going to remove another card that exiles all creatures you control and returns them, and just put this in its place, or toss this in and remove a lesser card. Archangel of Tides is 1 and 2 and 3 white for a 3/5 legendary creature angel with flying. As long as Archangel of Tides is untapped, creatures can't attack you or planeswalkers creatures you control unless their controller pays 1 for each of those creatures. As long as Archangel of Tides is attacking, creatures can't block unless their controller pays 1 for each of those creatures. This is another just great blowout card. It's got flying, it's a 3/5. The biggest issue here is a 3 white. So you're not going to be playing this in 3 or more color decks unless it's heavily focused leaning towards white or your mana base is pristine. Your goal here in this card with this card is to use it defensively, and then eventually once you have enough creatures, swing in with it and just all of a sudden, like, sorry, noisy chair, and then all of a sudden just get a nice big push in, and then unlike an opponent who used all their mana improperly, right? Like they decided to only hold up 2 mana, and you have Tides, and they went, crap. And then you swing in with like 10 creatures, and they can only block 1. So, very good offensive and defensive. Again, modular. You can hold it back defensively so your opponent can't swing fully out, or you can get in. You'll see this card everywhere in Commander. I also think this card's pretty decent in like Standard. And maybe Pioneer Angels. Armadillo. Armored Armadillo is 1 white for a 0/4 Armadillo with Ward 1. 3 and a white. Armadillo gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is its toughness. It doesn't have Defender, so it's not good in the Defender deck. Excuse me. But for 4, making it a 4/4 for 1 isn't bad. Ward 1 makes it harder. I don't know, like... For 8 mana, you make it an 8/4. I like that we got armadillos. I think it's really funny. There's not any armadillo decks though. Maybe one day we'll get to that point. But I don't see it being played many places. Maybe in a defensive, like in Standard, or Pauper in like a blue-white control deck. You hold up these armadillos. They're great for blocking small creatures coming in at you. And then you can pay 4 to make it like a 4/4 and swing with it. Like, that's not awful, but it's not great. Even Interrupters 1 and 2 white for a 2/2 bird rogue with flash and flying. And when it enters the battlefield, exile target spell. It becomes plotted. So plotted is one of the new mechanics. So the way that works is when you plot a card, you plot it for whatever its plot cost is, or if it becomes plotted, you exile that card face up, and then you can cast it without paying its mana cost later at sorcery speed. So when this enters the battlefield, exile target spell, it becomes plotted. This is great for stopping counter spells, because if the card is interrupted and no longer on the stack, or its effect fizzles. So exiling a card, like a counter spell, will put it in there, and now they can only cast it at sorcery speed, so it's gone. You effectively remove their counter spell permanently. No longer usable, because a sorcery speed counter spell is not playable. They had to retcon one of those because there was one. Yeah, It's interesting. The next part, spells your opponents cast from graveyards or from exile cost 2 more to cast, and that's the big part of this thing. Number one, it's a 3-drop, which is perfect. It's got flash, so it's coming in quick. Right away, it's interfering with your opponent's cards, right? Whatever they're casting, you're interfering with them, stopping them for at least 1 turn. Okay? Flying allows you to hit people with it, which is great. 2/2 body is perfectly fine. Plus, making it so that that spell they're going to cast costs 2 more is great. And on top of that, any card they cast from exile or graveyard is also going to cost 2 more, which is just hindering specific decks. Really good in CEDH in that regard, because you're hindering like any graveyard shenanigans or any food chain shenanigans. But in this set itself, I guess it was meant to be against like plotted decks, which is cool itself. I really like it. I think it's a very interesting very interesting card that you'll probably, again, just see play in a lot of places. Maybe not as much as people want it to, because it does hose specific decks. So it's one of those cards that I think a lot of people like. They think it's interesting. They're gonna play it as interaction. And then some people might like start removing it from their deck when they play with people who run graveyard decks. It's like, oh, it stops your graveyard deck. But like, I don't know. I think this is an interesting way to stop certain graveyard decks, like Muldrotha, without like killing them and preventing them from playing the game. So maybe it'll stick around. I think it'll be Commander Staper from now on. I don't think it's much good in any other format, for honest. Bounding Felidar. Felidar? Yeah, it's a Felidar. 5 and a white for a 4/7 creature, cat, beast, mount. So mounts and saddle are the other another new mechanic. So let's read the card. Whenever Bounding Felidar attacks while saddled, put a 1/1 counter on each other creature you control. You gain 1 life for each of those creatures. So saddled 2. So this is just like crewing a vehicle. Tap any number of other creatures you control with total power 2 or more. This mount becomes saddled until end of turn. Saddle only as a sorcery. So you saddle it, you swing with it, and you put a 1/1 counter on each other creature you control and gain 1 life. This is very good, other than the fact that it's a 6-drop. I have tried it. I like it in a saddle deck. I like that saddle decks also work with vehicles. They thought that through very well. But what I really do enjoy about this card individually is it is a pretty high push. If you saddle it and then swing with like 5 creatures, his effect triggers on attack. So those 5 creatures, not him, he's a 4/7, but the other 4 are going to get 1/1 counters on them, and then you're going to gain 4 life. Which is very useful. Like, very useful. Being able to get that buff is nice, and then repeating it each turn is pretty nice. So, excuse me, I don't mind that. I just think the cost is expensive. So this is a card that like you might think, oh, I'm going to run this in my 1/1 counter deck, because like the 1/1 counters, if I got doublers, then all of a sudden like it's +3 1/1 counters, and that can be a finisher. But there might be better finishers, and you might end up seeing yourself remove this eventually. But if you have those doublers for 1/1 counters, that's when this card becomes insane. Bovine Intervention is 1 and a white for an instant. Destroy target artifact or creature. Its controller gets a 2/2 white Ox creature token. Very strong card. When buying a box of this or packs, hold this card out into what I like to call like your Commander Staples box. No, it's not expensive. But yes, if you're running a white deck and you need more interaction and you feel like I just don't have enough interaction, toss this in there. It gives you a choice of an artifact or creature, and all it gives them is a 2/2 Ox. That 2/2 Ox is going to do much versus that really strong or scary artifact or creature. So, perfect card in that format. Absolutely fantastic in Standard. Even I think Pioneer will like this card in sideboards. Brittled Bighorn is 3 and a white for a 3/4 sheep mount with vigilance, and when it attacks while saddled, create a 1/1 white sheep creature token. Again, it's that saddle effect. I like it. So it's a 3/4 with vigilance. It attacks, but if your commander it has 2 or more power, and you can just, and is not one you want to attack with, saddling this guy up to get a 1/1 each turn isn't the worst thing you could be doing. You know, I don't think it's the best for 4, but if you're a token deck and you're like doubling up those sheeps, you could do worse. I think it's something to look at. Like, it's literally like, we get a sheep each turn. That's nice. Plus more for a sheep deck. Any one of you guys out there who want in your sheep deck, you like it? Boom, sheep cards, man. Column Jumper, 2 and a white for a 3/3 rabbit mercenary. I love the look at this person. Vigilance, when Claim Jumper enters the battlefield, if an opponent controls more lands than you, you may search your library for a Plains card and put it on the battlefield, tapped. Then, if an opponent controls more lands than you, repeat this process once. If you search your library this way, shuffle. So, hits the field on turn 3. Okay? So, is the issue. Okay, so if you're doing turn 3, if you're last or second, you're not first in turn order, and everyone's been hitting their land drops, the further beyond, the better. Playing this turn 3 isn't bad. Okay, you're gonna play turn 3, and if someone ramped with lands, you're gonna get one. Okay, but if you play this turn 4 and you hold back your mana, someone's gonna have at least one more land, and you're gonna get that trigger off. And if you happen to go up against a land ramp deck or a green deck that ramps with lands, you're gonna get 2. Very useful and interesting idea. If you really want to, you could hold back a land, and then on turn on turn 3, don't play a land, and on turn 4, cast it. But that's like kind of cray, honestly. I wouldn't go that far. I think that second effect is you're going to be getting it if you're going up against an opponent who ramps, which is a high chance, to be fair. Other than that, a 3/3 Vigilance, you're not winning any awards there. But as long as an opponent has more lands than you, or you're not going first, and you're able to pull that like quick trick up on turn 3 to get that extra land, it is a 3-drop that ramps you, and white, with a body that can attack and block. So I don't mind it. I think it's interesting. It's also a mercenary, which matters in this set. I don't think you'll see play anywhere else, to be honest. Dust Animus is 1 in a black, 1 in a white for a 2/3 creature spirit with flying. If you control 5 or more untapped lands, Dust Animus enters the battlefield with 2 1/1 counters and a lifelink counter. Plot 1 in a white. Okay, so this is plot. So again, you pay 1 in a white and you exile this card from hand, and you can cast it for sorcery later on a later turn without paying its mana cost. Plot only is sorcery. I think the biggest issue with the plot is that they should have made it a sorcery. I understand the concept that, number 1, it might have been too strong as an instant, and number 2, the idea is plotting for later on. But number 1, you're not plotting face down, so they see it. Exile this card from your hand, so they get to know what you're plotting, right? And number 2, that means you're just waiting. You're like, okay, yeah, I gotta wait till I have 5 lands to cast this card, but I've got nothing else to do in my hand. So I'm just gonna Dust Animus plot it, and then just pass my turn, and then later on I'll cast it for free, right? Once I have more lands, and it'll come up big. Cool. But like, if I could make an entire reasoning as why I hate plot, a video, I would, and I could. I honestly could make an entire video on why I hate the concept of plot, because I truly wish it was instant speed. Because at instant speed, oh, no interaction was needed, plot this card. Now I have a free spell next turn. Interesting, fun, good mechanic, not broken. Just giving you that a little extra choice. As is, yeah, I mean, in a land deck, run it, you know? Yeah, in a land deck, this coming down after you have 5 or more untapped lands, and untapped, that's the whole point, right? So you plot it so then you can cast it when you have the 5 untapped lands. And then all of a sudden, you know, you have a 4 or 5 with lifelink and flying. Like, cool. That dies to removal. That you had to wait forever. But I guess you didn't feel bad when you cast it for its plot, because it was free afterwards. I think this is a little underwhelming in my opinion. And I think the only place this card would ever see play is a commander deck that runs land, that's focused on lands, but I really just don't see it doing much, unfortunately. Yeah. Next, Arietti's Lullaby is 1 and a white for a sorcery. Destroy target tapped creature. You gain 2 life. It's weak. It's a classic white removal. The creature has to be tapped. Yes, you do gain 2 life, which is useful, but you can't do it at instant speed, so you can't do it against an attacking creature. They have to attack you, then it gets to your turn, then you can remove that creature that was attacking. Any creature that's not attacking is useless. So, I just don't see it being played most places. Final Showdown is a good card, given by its price. Final Showdown is a white. With Spree. Let's talk about Spree. Choose 1 or more additional costs. So, you can choose which ones, and they do go in order. So, for Showdown, you pay a white. Then Spree triggers. You can pay 1 white, or so 1 generic, and all creatures lose all abilities until end of turn. So, creatures' abilities are gone. Then you can pay a generic, and choose a creature you control. It gains indestructible end of turn. Now, first everyone loses their abilities, then your creature gains indestructible. Finally, for 3 and 2 white, destroy all creatures. Board wipe. So, all together to play this all at once, it's 3 white and 4 mana. 5 mana, making it 8. And the reason this card's expensive, not only because it's actually kind of good and seen play in several different formats, but because it's being called the white Cyclonic Rift. The idea here is that for 7 at instant, or for 8 at instant speed, you can make sure that no creature can live, choose 1 creature you want to live on your side, and then wipe all the creatures out. Then your turn comes around, you still have your probably commander out on the field, and you're above everyone else. You know, you did on their end steps, so you know you can win. Okay, this is not one-sided like an overloaded Cyclonic Rift. You still lose all your creatures, so in a non-creature deck, this is even better, especially in like a Voltron deck. But how about the other choices? To remove all abilities from all creatures till their turn for 2 mana is great. That stops most opponents from winning the game. A lot of win cons require your creatures to have abilities. So you do this and they just go, I can't win because my creature no longer deals damage to people when I cast an instant. Like my Gutter Snipe is turned off, or my Kiki Jiki is turned off, or my commander no longer has an ETB effect, right? Like, well, no, because that ETB would trigger once it comes back, because it doesn't stay like that, right? But yeah, like, you turn off their stuff to win. Oh, my Perforos, which was a creature, now loses its abilities. Crap, I can't win anymore, right? Stuff like that gets stopped. Tamir Sabertooth can no longer bounce back my dock side. Which is interesting, you know? The other choice, choose a creature you control, it gains indestructible under turn. At instant speed, being able to just go, yeah, save my commander, is great. Oh, look, that's a great control piece. Fantastic. And then, just for 6 mana, blow up all the creatures. A 6 mana board wipe is fine. Not as good as a 4 mana, but with as many different choices you have here, dude, this card is fantastic. If you pull it, put it in your white deck. I think this will become a staple in white decks. If you own one, you put it in your white deck, okay? Because it just does everything. Protects your commander, stops your opponents from winning the game, and board wipes. And then on the end of that, can help you push for a win. So, definitely contention for like the best card for commander from this set. Fortune Loyal Steed is the first legendary we're running into. 2 and a white for a 2/4 legendary creature beast mount. When Fortune Loyal Steed enters the battlefield, you can describe 2. So on ETB, you get something from this card. We all know anything happening right off the bat is good. Next, when it attacks while saddled at the end of combat, exile it and up to one creature that saddled it this turn. Then return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control. Saddle one. So this card is cracked. Okay? I love this card. I think people are sleeping on this card, guys. Okay? As a commander, it's very fun. It is your classic flicker deck. You don't really run any other flicker cards. You just run a bunch of ETB cards, and then you flicker those ETB cards. Yeah, it gets really gross really fast. And mind you, it flickers him, which means every time you're triggering him, you're scrying 2. And scrying 2 is great, especially in like mono white decks. But this card goes into any scry deck that requires white. This deck goes into any ETB deck. And in fact, I will state this. If your commander has 1 power and it has a good ETB, shove this in your deck. Dropping this down turn 3. Getting your commander out and getting the ETB off. Saddling your Fortune Loyal Steed, because you don't need to have haste to saddle. Swinging with your Fortune. Flickering both so you can scry 2 and get your commander's ETB again is great. This is a staple and a half. You're going to see it a lot on any deck where your commander just has a really good ETB. Yeah, I mean, I think this card is playable in other formats too, where ETBs are useful. Because coming down and scrying 2 is not bad. So, I really like it. I'd love to see if I could find a place for it in like a modern deck. In fact, I actually am just curious. I'm pretty sure the answer is nothing. Dual commander. Okay, that makes sense. It's seeing played in like Yashmara and Bruce Tarl decks. That's fair. But I want to see if we can make splash. Maybe in Pioneer. Frontier Seeker is 1 in a white for 2/1 Human Scout. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards in your library. You reveal a mount creature card or plains card from among them and put it into your hand. For the rest of the bottom library in a random order. This is great in ETB decks. So in an ETB deck, this just makes sure that you always have a plains in your hand. Which isn't the best choice, but like not bad if you're running like a mono white deck or a 2-color deck. But this is just going to be here for mount decks. I don't like that it doesn't say vehicle. Most of them said mount or vehicle, but this one's just a mount. Okay, cool. But if you're running a mount deck, just toss that in there. That's where you're going to see that in play. Getaway Glamour. A white for an instant with Spree. So you pay a white, and then you can pay 1. Exile target non-token creature. Return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So that's a good flicker. And then for 2, generic, destroy target creature if no other creature has greater power. Okay, this is interesting. So the idea here is you get to pop the strongest creature, but if you have the strongest creature, you can hide it. Or if there's another problematic creature. So like if the card stopping you is like a 4/4, add blocker, go away. If the card blocking you, if the card stopping you from winning is a 4/4, and you have an 8/8 over there, you can make the 8/8 disappear, kill the 4/4. I like this for flicker decks. I mean, 2 to flicker is great, and then you have an upside like 3, you can blow something up, and then for 4, you get both. I think that's all I'm going to see it in flicker decks. Commander deck that has a good commander ETB. High Noon, I love this card. I love this card, and again, if you look at MTG top 8, this is seeing play in Standard, Pioneer, Legacy, CEDH, Modern. This is a card seeing play everywhere. It's not too expensive, other than the other prints, but the base print's 37 cents. But this card is great. 1 in a white for an enchantment. Each player can't cast more than 1 spell each turn. You've seen that on everything. But 4 in red and sacrifice High Noon. It deals 5 damage to any target. So, in Commander, this is a stacks piece. So you're not going to play it casually. Just don't. It's not nice to play stacks pieces casually, okay? Intermediate or higher is fine, okay? Intermediate, high power, CEDH, put this card in the deck. What this also gives you is a stack space that you can get rid of for 5 mana, then go off, right? Every other format, this is a stack piece that deals 5 damage to your opponent. So if you're playing like Jeskai Control or Boros Control, hey look, we can only cast 1 spell each turn. Oh no, this is gonna slow my deck down. Oh, I'm gonna pay 5 and deal 5 damage to your face. Oh, gross. And then I'm gonna play another High Noon. So I'm gonna spend a total of 7 mana to just pop you. Or you have another High Noon already. You got 2 of them out on the field. Oh, 5, pop you. 5 damage. 4 of these wins you the game. Like, High Noon, the win. What's your win con? 4 High Noons. I trigger them slowly and control the game. You can do that. You can do that in any format. High Noon control just works. Where you win because you triggered 5 High Noons. Or sorry, 4 High Noons. And dealt 20 damage. And then other damage throughout the game. But High Noon's such a good card. Again, please don't let me see you playing this standard or casually. It's 1 spell a turn so bad casually. And it's because people just want to play their game and they're going to complain. And if you can guarantee that you're playing intermediate or higher, where people just go, oh, I can only play 1 spell, play my 1 spell pass. Play my 1 spell pass. Then the game goes fast. Eventually someone finds a removal for High Noon, pops it off or makes a deal for someone. Okay, cool, yeah, I'll pop that big scary thing over there for 5 and then we'll move on for my... Okay. Right? Like, it's interesting in that regard. But casually, you're just going to have people complaining, which is going to ruin the game for everyone else. So, holy cow, I love this card. This, holy cow, is how you know millennials are working on Magic the Gathering. Like zillennials and stuff. Because it's, holy cow, really? Really, guys? This is a 2 and a white for a 2/2 creature, Ox Angel. With Flash and Flying, and when it enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life and scry 1. I'll put this in every white deck, just so you can go, holy cow, and flash this guy in response. It's the equivalent of playing Think Twice, even though it's a bad card, because you go like, let me think twice about that. Overall, though, it's not good. Put it in an Ox deck or an Angel deck. It's a cheap Angel. But, like, it enters, you gain 2, scry 1. I mean, it's not bad in a Flicker deck, to be fair. If you need another Flicker card, this card's fine. Flash it in on your instep. You got a 2/2. I think this is better than some people might look at it. I wanted to see if I could do something in, like, Pauper. Again, this is going to see nothing here. Oh, Pauper's running it. They are! And Pioneer. Oh, holy cow, Pioneer deck. Okay, I'm sorry. I gotta take a second here, guys. I gotta take... Holy cow, Pioneer. Oh, 2 holy cows. Okay, yeah, this is Angels. Someone just tossed them in Angels and won a game. That's great. That's great. What are they doing in Pauper with okay, so both Orzhov and Boros is running it. This is a ranked 1 deck. What did they do for my 2 holy cows? Oh, all that glimmered is banned. Wait. Oh. What? Okay. I don't know how all that glimmered. Oh, maybe just that copy? I don't know. What about the Orzhov? Is it just running 2? Yeah, people running 2. Orzhov Blade is running it? Why? I mean, I guess it's a flyer for cheap that can flash in and gains you 2 life and scries you 2. Yeah, it's better than I thought. Yeah, okay. Oh, well, my bad. Yeah, you got to see me rant there about holy cow. Oh yeah, Gaida and Dual Commander's running it. And in Pioneer, Selesnya Angels, yeah, okay. Guys, the card's seeing play. Holy cow is seeing play. Okay, they made this card crack. Is it gonna see play Commander? Yeah, because it's a joke. It's holy cow. Yeah, no. I love this card because of the joke. That is the whole point. I love this card because of the joke. But overall, a 2/2 with flash flying and enters the battlefield, gaining you 2 life and scrying you 1, in Commander doesn't do a lot. Unless you're playing like blue with a lot of those draw cards whenever you deal damage to combat damage to an opponent, that's going to trigger, which is pretty good. Or an ETB deck where you can keep flickering it to gain that life and drawing 1 is pretty good, or scrying 1. But in a 1v1 format, flashing this in to block one of their 1/1s and kill them, also going up 2 life on them and getting a scry is great. I love it. I love everything about Holy Cow. Just watch out for it in formats that aren't Commander. I don't think you'll see it in Commander much. Next is Inventive Wingsmith. 2 and a white for a 2/4 Dwarf Artificer. At the beginning of your instep, if you haven't cast a spell from your hand this turn, Inventive Wingsmith doesn't have... Oh, and Inventive Wingsmith doesn't have a flying counter on it. Put a flying counter on it. Okay, this is another mechanic that isn't stated for real, but it's this idea of, hey, if you don't do stuff on your turn, you get something, okay? So you don't get it off the turn you cast this spell. You have to wait a whole rotation, which is what makes the whole idea bad. Because you want to get more of these out on the field, but then every time you do, you cast a spell. I wish it said if you've cast less than 1 spell. This would allow you to slowly play the cards and also still get their effect on the turn you cast them. Like if I just play Inventive Wingsmith and pass, I get the effect. That I think would have been useful and would have made the cards like more playable. Because if you just go, oh, I have the choice of playing Inventive Wingsmith and get this 2/4. And then I can keep playing stuff. Or I can just play Inventive Wingsmith, get a 2/4 with flying. Excuse me. That's better, right? Like, choose to do nothing to get an upside. But instead, you play this, and then you just keep playing cards this turn, and then next turn, you have a worthless card that does nothing. But then at the end of that turn, you get a flyer. That being said, a handful of these cards mechanics do have upsides. I wish more of them had like flash, but with the way it is, this card's bad. I don't think you play it anywhere unless you need another dwarf. Lassoed by the Law. 3 and a white for enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent an opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. When Lassoed by the Law enters the battlefield, you create a 1/1 red mercenary creature token with tap. Target creature you control gets +1/+0 until end turn. Activate only as a sorcery. This is another one of the mechanics, and that's the new mercenary token. Here it is. Oh, you can't see it there. I'll just pop it open here. These are the mercenaries. Lots of decks make them. Lots of cards can make them. And the whole point is to buff your creatures. You tap it. You put a 1. They get +1/+0 until end of turn. It itself is a 1/1. So like, we've seen these enchantments that hit the field and go, hey, exile some non-land card my opponent controls. Good removal in an Enchantress deck. But this also, for an extra mana here, because a lot of them are 3-drops, like Oblivion Ring and stuff, this also gets you a 1/1 red mercenary, which is very useful. So, yeah, you can use that to buff your commander or to just have this 1/1 mercenary. A lot of the cards that cared about this doubled the abilities. I think the commander that cares about mercenaries doubled the trigger or activated abilities. So you get double +1/+0s or a +1/+0 on 2 different creatures. On itself, like, I guess the idea of the mercenaries is like if you have like 10 of them compared to like 10 1/1 goblins, is the mercenaries can either swing all out wide, or you can tap the 10 of them and buff 1 creature by 10. So put the make your flyer a 12/5 and swing tall instead of wide. So it's a token that can swing both tall and wide, which is interesting. Again, really pushing that concept of bimodal choices. Like, do you want to swing wide or swing tall? What is going to work here? Oh, only 1 person needs to die. Let's do that. Oh, I need to hit several people. Let's do that On its own, it's kind of a slow card, so I honestly don't think you're going to see a lot of play with it. Mystic Tether is 2 in a white for an enchantment. You might cast Mystic Tether as though it had flash if you pay 2 more to cast, so that'll make it 5. When it enters the battlefield, exile target artifact or creature an opponent controls until Mystic Tether leaves the battlefield. Okay, so yeah, this only hits an artifact or a creature. Yeah, it has flash, but I think it's really slow. I just don't think I see it being played in many decks. I'd probably just pass on it, although the art is gorgeous. Very cool art. Nurturing Pixie. Nurturing Pixie is a 1 white for a 1/1 fairy rogue. When it enters the battle with flying, when it enters the battlefield, return up to 1 target non-fairy, non-land permanent you control to its owner's hand. If a permanent was returned this way, put a 1/1 counter on Nurturing Pixie. This is one of those cards you can't return itself, so you can't like keep triggering like things that want fairies and rogues or other things to enter the battlefield, but just paying a bunch of white. But it's okay. It's okay in like a flicker deck because you can just bounce the thing you want to recast, and then you get a 2/2 flying guy, which is kind of cool. I don't know. I like that it's a rogue for other stuff. I don't think this card sees any play. I'm wrong. It's seeing standard. Boros Convoke standard. Okay. Cool. It's a standard card. I get it. Again, because like in a format unlike Commander where like you just don't have a crap ton of ways to flicker things, this is an easy way to put something back in your hand in standard. So good on them. In its own on Commander, I just don't see it being played much. Omen Port Vigilant or Vigilante. 1 in a white for a 2/2 human mercenary. Omen Port Vigilante has double strike as long as you've committed a crime this turn. Another one of those fun ability or mechanics. You commit a crime simply by targeting opponents, anything they control, and or cards in their graveyards is a crime. So anything that says target player or target a permanent or target a card in someone's graveyard, as long as it's targeting, it causes the effect to trigger. Even if it's a positive thing for them. You can get it off like target player draws 2 cards. That is a crime. And therefore it triggers it, giving it double strike. This is not a good card. It's not, maybe as a commander it would have been cool, but by itself, nah. I mean, yeah, no decks. It's cool. I like the art again, but it's just not going to be doing anything here. One Last Job, another fun card. 2 in a white for a sorcerer with spree. For 2 generic, you can return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So that's 4 mana to revive something. For 1 generic, return target mount or vehicle card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Right? So that's going to be 4 to... Oh, it's 5 to return something, or 4 to return a mount or vehicle. And then 1 generic, return target aura or equipment card from your graveyard to the battlefield attached to a creature you control. Okay? So, again, 4 to grab something like that. The idea here, though, is to go, oh, this thing was done being used. No, it's back on the field. I have my mount I'm going to do it with. And I put an equipment on the mount because the mount is what's going to be attacking. And now I can saddle my mount and deal some extra damage with it. So, all that's very interesting in my opinion. I think it works very well. As a revival card, 5 mana to return something from your graveyard to the battlefield is normal, but like doing that at any cost, I hate doing it. I hate paying 5 to return a creature from my graveyard to the battlefield. Unless I'm returning something that's like an 8 or higher, like then maybe. 4 is a little better, like, and to like get all of this out, you need to be like you might think, okay, well, what if you're running a, I don't know, like you need to be running a go wide strategy that's running mounts, vehicles, auras, and equipments. Or one of the two. Either a mount deck with auras, a mount with equipment, a vehicle deck with auras, or a vehicle deck with equipment. I think your best bet with this deck is like an artifact deck that runs vehicles and equipments. Crap. It's oh, give me a second. Let me find that. This guy, SRAM. This is a SRAM card. Because you're running auras, equipments, and vehicles. So this grabs you your guy back from your graveyard. Grabs your aura. Grabs your vehicle and your aura or equipment. This card goes in SRAM, or any SRAM-esque deck. And actually, now I'm curious. Not being played anywhere. That's fair. I think, because there is a SRAM deck in Pioneer, I think this could be seen played there. It's a lot of mana to get back. I mean, like, again, it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana total to get 3 cards back from your graveyard. And and bypass, like, the equipment costs. But I think that's interesting. Like, yeah, I guess, like, SRAM decks love this card. Outlaw Medic. 1 and a white for a 1/3 human rogue with lifelink. When it dies, draw a card. Simple. Excuse me, simple. Very simple. I think this is great in Pauper and Standard. Like, it hits the field. You're 1/3 with lifelink. You can block. You can hit people. And then you're going to draw a card when someone dies. So anyone removing it is just going to get traded for it. Like, they instead of 1 for running, they're going to go down a card because you're going to get 1 card advantage off of it, which is always feels good when a card replaces itself. But a 1/3 lifelink, I like this card. And in fact, like, if you're looking for like a quick card to toss in your white deck and you're like, let's just look through my bulk. Oh, look, a 1/3 with lifelink that when it dies it replaces itself. Sure, why not? Toss it in. No one's going to waste an exile on this card. Prairie Dog. Such a cool squirrel. They're calling prairie dog squirrels. 1 and a white. I think that's the rodent, but not rat. The squirrels are the clean rats. There you go. 1 and a white for a 2/2 squirrel with lifelink. And at the beginning of your end step, if you haven't cast a spell from your hand this turn, put a 1/1 counter on prairie dog. 4 and a white until the end of turn. If you would put 1 or more 1/1 counters on a creature you control, put that many plus 1/1 counters on it instead. So, again, activated abilities. Going back even to the mercenary cards, getting those mercenaries and just activating their abilities doesn't cast, so you can do that instead. So here, Prairie Dog comes down turn 2, and by turn 3, you know, you swing with a 2/2, but now it becomes a 3/3 because you didn't cast a spell, right? Turn 4, you play a land. Oh look, it's now a 4/4 at the end of turn, and you swung with a 3/3 with lifelink. And then turn 5, you swing with this guy, you pay the 5 mana, and all of a sudden Prairie Squirrel is not a 4/4, but now it's a 6/6, right? Like, it slowly gets bigger. I think it's still just bad. Like, put that many +1 is great, but there's other cards that do that without having to activate an ability for 5 mana. It's just, no. Not for any format. Prosperity Tycoon. 3 and a white for a 4/2 human noble. When it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 red mercenary creature token. With tap, target creature you control gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. 2 generic. Sacrifice a token. Prosperity Tycoon gains indestructible until end of turn. Tap it. So it has protection. It's a 4/2. Okay. On a Flicker deck, I'm fine with this. That's about all I can see it for. Flickering it so you can get a bunch of these mercenaries and then, like, buff your commander so your, like, flying commander can go in and hit someone. Or buff your other flyers so they can deal damage. It's kind of cool. Giving a way to protect it, like, what are you protecting it for? And it's got a tap. You can do that at instant speed at least, so you can swing with it and then force it to tap, or block something and then give it an effect and tap it. So, like, I think it's interesting in that regard. But that's about it. I think it's just like interesting. That's it. Just interesting. I'm only going to see play many places. Requisition raid. One white for a sorcery with spree. For one generic, destroy target artifact. For one generic, destroy target enchantment. For one generic, put a 1/1 counter on each creature target player controls. So, this is 4 to pop 2 things and buff all your creatures. I love this card. This card's great. It is. In any deck that's going wide, or even not, like, okay, let's say you're not a wide deck and you have your commander out and like one other creature. Tossing this at sorcery speed for 3 to just pop an artifact and enchantment is great. But then for 1 more, being able to go, hey, my commander, which was like a 3/3 is a 4/4, these 2 guys get 1 counters, that's kind of cool. Like, I like that. I think that's like a little extra thing that you don't have to do. And even if you're, like, okay, if you're going to use 1/1 counters, toss this card in your deck. Like, it's great removal. Remove your other removal spell and put this in there. If you're not, it's still a good removal spell if you're looking for another removal spell. Rustler Rampage is a white for an instant with spree. Untap all creatures target player controls. Target creature gains double strike until end of turn. Those are both 1 generic. So, release the cows. Release the cows! Yeah! I think here, like, untap all creatures target player controls. You untap all your creatures, and then you give one of them a double strike. This is both defensive and offensive. You can just go untap all my creatures. Haha, I can block you. Hey, this guy's got double strike. Or it's on your turn, you tap all your creatures to do stuff. You untap them, and you can tap them all to do stuff again. Or you just tap them all to do stuff, untap them. Tap them all except for that one guy that you want to give, like, that double strike to. Great. And again, the mercenaries, the tokens, right? Tap the 5. Buff that creature by 5. Cast this guy for 2. For 3. Untap your mercenaries and give that guy that just got that 4/4 or that 3/3 flyer who's now an 8/3. Give a double strike. Hey, look. Tap your mercenaries. Oh, look. My commander, who is an 8/3, is now an 11 or is now a 13/3 and has double strike. You're dead. That's the idea. Like, this works with those mercenaries. It works with any of the untap stuff. If you're running a deck that runs a bunch of creatures that untap things, this untaps all of them, so then you can tap your stuff again and untap it with the untap cards. All of that is just so fun. I love this card. I think it'll be seen play in any untap deck. Shepherd of the Clouds, 4 and a white for a 4/3 Pegasus with flying and vigilance. And when it enters the battlefield, return target permanent card with mana 3 or less from your graveyard to your hand. Return that card to the battlefield instead if you control a mount. So in a mount deck, this just, you put it in there. I don't like that it's not a mount. Maybe Pegasus just don't like to be written. Look at that Pegasus. Oh, Shepherd of the Clouds. This is the shepherd to the other ones. He's not bound by man. That guy is though. That friggin' like zoom in on that guy. That guy, this guy right here. Yeah. He's bound by man. This one, not bound by man, okay? Returning something's fine. Like, put this in your mount decks. And maybe in a flicker deck. Like, I don't mind this in a flicker deck. It hits the field, you return that permanent card from your graveyard to your hand, and you can recast it, and you do that several times. Not a bad idea in a flicker deck. Sheriff of Safe Passage. 2 and a white for a 0/0 human knight. Sheriff of Safe Passage into the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it, plus an additional 1/1 counter on it for each other creature you control plot. Okay, the idea of this plot is you cast it for 2 on turn 2. Then by like turn 10, you cast it for free, and oh look, I got 10 creatures out on the field. It's a 10/10. Otherwise, you cast it for 3 when you have like 2 creatures out on the field, and it's a 2/2. I don't like it. But again, I don't like plot. Next. Stagecoach Security. 4 and a white for a 4/3 human soldier. When it enters the battlefield, creatures you control get +1/+1 in vigilance to the turn. Plot. Okay, again, you can pay 5 to just be all like, boom, bang, my creatures are bigger, and now they can block you, hit someone. Or you can plot it for 4 and go, I'm going to wait till I have a bunch of creatures, guys. Guys, just know, if I have a bunch of creatures, I'm casting this for free. And then they're going to have vigilance and get bigger. Oh yeah, those 1/1 mercenaries, they're going to become 2/2 mercenaries. Yep, all of them. Yep, the 20 of them. Yep. Oh, you board wiped? Well, why would you... Oh, because you saw Stagecoach security and realized you couldn't stop them? Man. That sucks. Steer clear. I love this card. A white for an instant. It deals 2 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. Steer clear deals 4 damage to that creature instead if you control the mount as you cast this spell. Is this seeing any play anywhere? I don't think so. No, I didn't think so. I don't think mounts have made it anywhere. Put this in your mount deck. Sterling's Keykeeper is 1 and a white for a 2/2 human mercenary. Pay 2 and tap it. Tap target non-mount creature. Bad, don't run it. I hate these tap a creature your opponent controls. And for 2 mana, 2 mana, and it can't be a mount. Just don't run it. It's bad. Sterling Supplier. 4 and a white for a 3/4 bird soldier with flying, and when it enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on another target creature you control. Okay, see, this is fine. It's expensive, but like, again, flicker, sure. And a flicker deck, maybe. Buff your commander a bunch. Unless your commander's what you're flickering. Only do that if your commander's doing the flickering. Take up shields. 1 and a white for an instant. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature. It gains lifelink and indestructible. I love these cards. I have a soft spot for them. I do. I truly do, because I love interactive mid-range decks. And something like Take Up the Shield is interesting. Like, you hold it up in case someone wants to blow up your commander. If they do, not only do you stop them, but you also buff your commander. On the other hand, it also gains a lifelink, so in a more aggressive way, you can swing with it, cast it, give them lifelink so you gain some life this turn so you don't die. Give it indestructible so you don't have to worry about it being blocked, and then give it that 1/1 counter so that it's dealing a little extra damage. It is a reprint from Dominar United. I love the Dominar United art, and I love this Outlaws. I think it's a really good card. The issue is these 1-for-1s, like, sometimes they don't do anything, and you're not drawing a card off it, so you really run into those issues of, like, I want to run this in my commander deck, but unless my commander is giving me something for doing so, I'm not going to get enough out of that, you know? But, like, if you're in a very heavy removal-based pod, like your group that you play with normally does that, or your Friday Night Magic place does it, it can do something, okay? Like, I really do enjoy cards like this. I just wish they drew you a card or something, or like, scry. Let me scry one. You know? Thunder Lasso, first equipment. 2 and a white for an equipment. When Thunder Lasso enters the battlefield, attached to target creature you control. Equipped creature gets +1/+1. When a equipped creature attacks, tap target creature defending below your controls. Okay? Again, this is a fine equipment. If you're looking for an equipment to toss in the deck, where, like, you really just want a lot of equipment on creatures, so being able to pay 3 and just know this is going to hit something is good, and you want to make sure you can hit people so you can tap that creature when it attacks, I think this is fine. You know, like, yeah, I think it does its job. Being able to make sure you tap down a creature an opponent controls is pretty useful. The +1/+1's fine on a creature, and hitting the field and just equipping it's not bad. I think you could put that in an equipment deck and be fine. Train Arnix is 1 and a white for a 3/1 cat beast mount. When it attacks while saddled, it gains first strike until it turns. Scry 1, saddle 2. I think it's a little weak. Even if your commander has power 2 or more, like, tapping it, and like, it doesn't need to attack and stuff, like, tapping it to get this first striker and scry 1, like, I think it's a little slow. I really just wouldn't. 2 more cards here. Vengeful Townsfolk is 2 and a white for a 3/3 human citizen. When 1 or more other creatures you control die, put a 1/1 counter on it. that's okay. Like, I get it. It's vengeful. Kind of funny. But, like, I think it's a little hard to get that to get bigger. But it could get pretty big depending on your aristocrat deck. And Wanted Griffin is 3 and a white for a 3/2 Griffin. When it dies, create a 1/1 red mercenary. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think it's weak. I just wouldn't play that anywhere unless you're playing like a Griffin deck. So that's the white cards. If I was gonna pick like the best white card, it probably has to be the card I think could probably be argued to be the best card of the entire set, which is Final Showdown. My favorite's probably Fortune Loyal Steed because I think it's gonna see so much play, but Final Showdown is probably the best white card out of the set. Not probably, it is. It's going to see play in every format. It's very useful. The only issue is it's not Holy Cow. So, but there's a lot of good cards in this set for white. But next time we're going to hit up the blue cards. So I will see you guys then. Peace.